Howdy folks, and welcome back to No Guarantees. Today I'm going to be covering absolutely everything you need to know before you buy your first YJ. I've got two great examples with me here today, both with their own pros and cons. As a brief bit of background on my two Jeeps, this one is a 1991 4-liter manual that I've had for about 10 days now, and it's got a fair share of problems. And on the other side, this is my 1994. It was originally a 2.5 manual. I've had it for about 10 years now. It is my daily driver, and it's gone through an extensive amount of work. Introductions aside, let's talk about the number one thing that takes these old girls off the road. Mechanically, these Jeeps are pretty simple and pretty reliable. It's typically rust that takes them off the road. Starting with the frame, the most common rust area is back here, right where the shackle goes through. It was completely rotted out on this one, and we patched it in the last video. Other common areas include up front over here where the steering box bolts to the frame, and underneath down here where the transmission crossmember bolts up. The last common area is inside the upper shock mounts. I had to patch both sides on my 94, right in here. As far as the body goes, there are a couple common areas. The first thing that seems to go out on these Jeeps are the front fenders. You can see I've got a small rust spot about right there, and that's pretty typical. I had to swap out both the front fenders on my 94 and that green Sahara I had about a year ago. I had to patch up that front fender as well. Moving backwards through the body, they also can rot out at the front and rear of the rockers and all along the bottom of the windshield frame. Back when I bought my 94, the only thing holding the windshield frame together was the windshield itself. The full doors have a tendency to rot where the window frame meets the rest of the door, and the bottom center of the tailgates tend to rot out as well. There are other common rust areas as well, but those are the ones that I see the most often. The next biggest thing I look for when I'm buying a YJ is the drivetrain. The YJ had a couple of different options throughout the years, and some are better than others. Starting with the engines, you've got the 2.5 4-cylinder, the 4.2 6-cylinder, and the famous 4.0 6-cylinder. The 2.5 4-cylinder was used from all years between 1987 and 1995. It was always fuel injected, although the management system did change in 1991. This engine is known to be extremely reliable, although slightly underpowered. That's what was originally in my 1994 with well over 250,000 miles when I pulled it out of the Jeep. The 6-cylinder 4.2 was carried over from the CJ and used between 1987 and 1990. The 4.2 is also very reliable if you don't mind carburetors, and it has slightly more torque than the 4.0. There are popular carb swaps, EFI swaps, and ignition system swaps for these engines to help bring them into the 21st century if you'd like to go that route. Lastly, the 4.0 was brought to the YJ in 1991. It is widely considered the best engine ever offered in a YJ, if not the best engine ever offered by Jeep. These engines routinely last 200 or 300,000 miles without batting an eye. You guys saw my green 94 Sahara on this channel, and it had 320,000 miles on the original motor and transmission when I sold it. Speaking of transmissions, let's talk about your options. Starting with the manual ones, there are 3 different ones available. If you've got the 2.5 from the factory, it was backed with the 5-speed AX5. They are certainly not the strongest, and they are infamous for losing 5th gear, if not others. Next up, we've got the Peugeot BA105. This was offered behind the 4.2 between 1987 and mid-year 1989. This transmission is also not the strongest and is often swapped out for our next option. The final manual transmission option is the AX15. They are a large step up in strength over the AX5 and BA105. They were available from mid-year 1989 through the end of the production run in 1995. Speaking of 1995, all 1995 models, as well as some 1994 models, were equipped with an external slave cylinder. Those transmissions are considered the most desirable and the easiest to work on. As far as automatics go, there were only 2 options. The 2.5 was available with an automatic in 1994 and 1995 only, and it was the TF904. I don't have any personal experience with these transmissions, but I have heard that they make an already underpowered 2.5 feel even more sluggish. The 4.2 and 4.0 were available with the TF999 through all years of production. That's what was in my 94 Sahara, and if you want an automatic behind your 4.0 or 4.2, there's nothing wrong with them. Even if you would prefer a manual, I would take a TF999 over a BA 10.5 any day of the week. As far as transfer cases go, there are two options. In 1987 and 1987 only, there was the NP207. It's more challenging to find parts for, and the strength is debatable. In all other years, you've got the NP231. They are well designed, pretty strong, have a relatively low for-low ratio, and have plenty of aftermarket support. A lot of people run these downstream of V8 engines with no issues. Moving down the line, let's cover the axles. As far as the front axle goes, there's only one option, and it's the Dana 30. They are pretty strong, and I've got no complaints. I'm running a Dana 30 underneath an LS with 35-inch tires, and it hasn't skipped a beat. In the rear, the vast majority of YJs had the infamously weak Dana 35. People are known to bust these even on stock-sized tires. Rarely, and I mean rarely, some YJs were allegedly equipped with a Dana 44 in Canadian markets, and then overseas, some special YJ models were rarely equipped with either Dana 44s or even Dana 60s. I know that sounds crazy, but if you don't believe me, look up AIL Storm and you're in for a treat. On the same note, let's talk about gearing. The 2.5 manuals always had 410s. It's very common for people with other drivetrains to take at least the front axle out of a 2.5 YJ for the deeper gears. I've got 410s with my 35s, and it runs down the highway at 70 miles an hour at 2,000 RPM. The 2.5 autos always had 373s, the 4.0 autos always had 355s, and the 4.0 manuals could either have 307s, 355s, or 373s. You'll have to check your axle tag to confirm. It might be a little hard to see under there, but you can see right at the tip of my finger, I've got 307s. Next up, let's talk about your top options. And you would think it would be as simple as soft top versus hard top, but unfortunately, that's not the case. As far as soft top goes, there are three options. The first one being the traditional pointed corner window and framed top. That's what was originally on my 94 when I bought it, and originally on my Sahara when I bought it. It is the most common top setup and the most affordable. The next common option is the best top super top. It's a soft top designed to work with full factory doors. They are a little bit more expensive, but if you want to run your full doors, it's the best option. The last common option is the Rampage frameless top. They use the 92 to 95 family roll bar as the support structure, and they have no designated frame. Unfortunately, there is no frameless option for the 87 to 91 sport roll bar, at least not anymore. There are also some very unique soft top designs that are not compatible with anything else. I think Best Top used to make a rounded soft upper that were still not the same shape as the full doors. So it can get complicated, and try to do some digging into what you're buying. As far as hard tops go, there are some slight differences. For example, I've got one with rear defrost and one without. Some hard tops were also offered with a latch, while others are not. I'm honestly not sure what years have a latch and what years do not, so you'll just have to keep an eye out. If I had to guess, it was tied to the federally mandated third brake light that came out in 1994, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to dive into how to check your brakes, steering, suspension, all that kind of stuff. If I did, this would be a 2-hour-long video. There are a ton of people online that have created that exact video who are much more talented than I am. If you're not comfortable making that kind of assessment, I highly recommend you bring a friend or even your mechanic to check it out for you. if anybody is in the northern Delaware area, I'd be happy to come with you to look at one of these Jeeps. The only thing I want to hit on in particular is the four-wheel drive system and the central axle disconnect or CAD system in the front axle. These Jeeps have a two-piece passenger side front axle shaft, and the vacuum system that engages it degrades over time. There are multiple ways to fix it or replace it in kind, and I'll let you guys do your own research into determining what's best for you. My 91 still has the factory CAD, and in my 94, I've deleted it. But I just wanted to mention that as something to keep an eye out for. Generally speaking, these Jeeps are pretty cheap to maintain as long as you're willing to do the work yourself. Shop labor can definitely add up quickly. Like I said previously, these Jeeps are extremely simple to work on and the community is fantastic. Even as a beginner DIY mechanic, there isn't anything you should be afraid of, and the majority of Jeep enthusiasts are more than willing to help. At this point, all of these Jeeps are 30 plus years old, and a lot of people use them as toys. The majority of modifications will bring them down in value, and ones that are more or less bone stock are worth much more. If I tried to sell both of my Jeeps today for what I have in them, I would be able to make money off of my 91, and it would certainly be close on my 94. For some modifications, like a lift kit and oversized tires, it's pretty difficult, although not impossible, for the previous owner to mess something up so badly that it would cause lasting damage. Although a lift kit and oversized tires can be indicative that somebody did beat on it in its past life. On the other hand, when it comes to engine swaps, transmission swaps, or axle swaps, I would be extremely weary of somebody else's work. If you're buying one that has that extensive of modifications done, I would be well prepared to diagnose every inch of their work. Speaking of previous owners, this is the last thing I'm going to cover, and it's something that really matters. It can make or break your project. Keep an eye out for any sort of tomfoolery your previous owners might have been up to. If they have other projects going on, try to scope it out and get a feel for their quality of work. I always like to ask people to show me other stuff they've got going on and take a look at everything they're doing. You can also look at their other listings on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and try to keep an eye out for anything you don't like. It could be anything from poor quality body or frame repairs to random and unsafe wiring. I've had guys look me dead in the eyes and tell me they can do bodywork before showing me spray foam covered in JB Weld. People have widely different opinions and expectations of what they call acceptable work. If I see bonded over newspaper or chicken wire, or if I open the hood and see a spaghetti of wiring, I'll just walk away. There's way too many of these out there for me to get hung up on a certain one, no matter what. As your experience level increases, the amount of previous owners' work that you're willing to fix also increases. But if you're just starting out, I'd highly recommend that you get one as stock as possible. It can be much harder to diagnose issues, especially wiring issues, if you're digging through someone else's work. Once you get to that point, wiring diagrams and manuals can no longer save you. Another thing people like to do is use body armor to hide rust or damage, especially down here along the rockers or in the back corner. Even if they're not hiding any rust, body armor itself can promote rust by trapping water between itself and the body. The last popular modification that I'd stay away from or be prepared to remove is a body lift. I've got an 1.25 inch body lift over here, and I think that's fine. I actually prefer a small body lift. It makes some things easier to work on, and you can get in there and clean the top of the frame. Anything an 1.25 inch or less is generally considered to be safe. Once you get into the 2 inch, 3 inch, or even 4 inch body lifts, not only can it cause shifter alignment issues, they're also just unsafe. Those bolts are way too long and these shear stresses are way too high if you get in an accident or even just do some off-roading. I know this video was a little bit different, but I hope it was helpful. That's absolutely everything I could think of that I look for when I go to check out one of these rigs. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on No Guarantees.